Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm David. For those that don't know me, I'm a track athlete. I'm going to my first year of college, TVCC in Ontario. And I kind of want to use this channel to document that, and not just that, but document my life and just record the things that I enjoy. So as a track athlete, obviously I enjoy running a lot, and I started running my 6th grade year, and I kind of wanted to go through each year and show my progress and show how my strategy for my races have changed, and hopefully to provide some information for those of you that are just starting or those of you that want any advice.
All right, this was the first ever 400 that I've ever run in my entire track and field career. This was my 8th grade year. I was mostly gearing to be a 1-2 guy. That's what I thought I was destined to be, I guess. But my dad told me I should try running a 400, and I figured I'd give it a shot at the first meet of the season. Before we get into the recording, my first piece of advice is to record everything that you can. Record practices, cross-training, block starts, races. You want as much footage as possible to look at, because you want to be able to know what you can improve on. It's also nice to be able to look back in a few years and kind of just critique yourself and make fun of yourself for the mistakes that you made that you wouldn't make now. But it's really nice to look at the footage right after it was taken, after you've had some time to reflect and look at it, so you can focus on, this is what I did wrong, this is what I can work on at practice, and this is how I'll do better. It's really a good piece of reflection that is just on your phone. So we can get in the video here. I remember this meet was a pretty windy day, so that was always no fun. You kind of see me at the start, I do a little stutter. That's one thing I see a lot of high school athletes do as well off a standing start, especially 800 guys that have to do their standing starts like this. It's almost like you jump and switch feet. This is one thing I still kind of struggle with when I have to start standing. There's some indoor meets that I've gone to where you have to start standing, and like I said, I see a lot of other athletes struggle with this, and I'll highlight myself here. This is where I'm at there. Watch how I kind of jump. The gun goes, and I switch feet instead of just pushing, and that was the first mistake. Obviously, it's my first time running an 800 or running a 400, but that is one thing, especially as a high school athlete, that's something that can cut a little bit of time off. It's not going to make you run significantly faster, but it would help if you don't do a little switch step like I did. So I get out hard. That's exactly what you want to do in a 400. You don't want to waste any energy at the start. I really focused on catching those guys in front of me, and then finding, I'd say, just from watching and remembering how I felt, I'd say I got a pretty good rhythm going. I remember it was just windy, so it kind of sucked towards the end, but my teammates were at the 200, the yellow, gray, and white. They were at the 200 telling me I was in a good spot and this is exactly how I'm supposed to be running it. So I just went along with it, figured I'm halfway through the race, just gotta keep going. And my form is honestly, it's not too bad. I could be more relaxed, but this is where the lactic really starts hitting, and you can see it. You can see it in my form. I'm honestly staying pretty, I'm not falling apart, but especially here, I'm really squatty. My entire foot is on the ground right now. I'm not staying on my toes, and you can see it in my face. You can see the grimace on my face. I don't even know what's going on with this marker, but you can see it. You can see it on my face, and I'm not staying as relaxed as I probably should. And I'm dipping my head down. I keep looking downwards, and I'm bobbing. and that's the hardest part in the 400 is this last 100. Kind of said I'm not as relaxed, but I do finish with good speed, and I don't really fall apart. And yeah, I want to say this race was like a 56. It was the first and the last middle school 400 that I'd run. I kind of decided that I wanted to focus on the relays with my friends rather than the 400, just because it was so hard and I was so dead after this. So let's get on to the next video. All right, this race was my first freshman 400. This one, I feel like for a lot of athletes, especially with my time as an 8th grader, I ran 56 in that last video. I feel like I came into this race with something kind of to prove. A lot of people had high expectations for me. The coaches, my dad. I feel like I almost, I just had something to prove here. And first 400 as a high schooler, I'm going against kids that are seniors. They're like adults pretty much. And that was really nerve-wracking for me. So let's get into this. I think this is me right here. It draws. That's me right there. I don't know why the marker does that to my screen every time, but I didn't really drive as long as I probably should have. I mean, like I said, I'm a freshman still, so I'm still learning how the block starts, but as you can see, I do get out hard. I know how to get out, but it's almost like I'm getting out like it's a 200, and I leave the last 200 just like fumes. So I'm really like getting after it. Like I've broken the stagger on the guy in lane 8 already at like before 200. So I'm probably like I'm gonna gas out. And I remember vividly like I was seeing stars right about now, and I had nothing left.
Come on, son. Come on, son.
But my form really does not fall apart. I'm just gassed. The guy behind me is not gassed. I don't tie up at all. I just run to the line, and yeah, honestly, like the biggest thing there is I don't know how to run a 400, so I'm just going as fast as I can, and I'm hoping that I get to the end. And that's one thing I see with a lot of younger athletes. And I mean, it's not a bad habit at all. You want to be able to get out hard in a 400, and especially once your body kind of matures and you figure out how you want to run it, either way, you're still going to be getting out at that pace. You're just not going to hold it as long. See, because what I'm noticing about myself, I get out, but I keep getting out. Like, I get out fast, and usually, like, you'd settle into a pace right about, like, 100 mark, but I just, like, keep getting after it instead of just relaxing. Like, you can almost kind of tell in my arm swing as well. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but my arm swing isn't as relaxed as I should be, and that's using a lot of energy that I could be having at the last 100 where that guy almost catches me. And that's another tip. At the end of the race, you never want to tie up. You never want to panic. You just want to run through the line and never stop before the line. I see a lot of people do that. They're just like, oh, it's the end of the race. No one's going to catch me. I have a couple steps left. I'll just turn it off. You want to run through the line. Like, unless you're 30 meters ahead of everyone and you know you're not going to get caught and it's like a qualifying race, then you can shut it down like that. But if it's just like a race like this where you're trying to get a benchmark, you want to be able to run through the line. Don't tie up. Just hold your form as best as possible and don't panic. All right, this was the end of my freshman year. This was at districts. Leading up to this race, I had gotten injured. I had a knee sprain, so I was out for a couple weeks. But I was able to come back. I broke the freshman record. I had run 51 leading up, like, before districts. In the prelims race, me and another freshman from Nampa, we both ran 50 seconds in prelims, and we were 1 and 2 in, like, our district. So I was in lane 3, he was in lane 4. He'd barely beaten me in prelims. So I kind of knew, I want to say, like with the 400, it's so helpful to be kind of a strategist. It's nice to be able to see how other people run their race and be able to build your race off of how they run it. So this is districts, my freshman year. Top three or four, I think, go to state. So I get out pretty good. Obviously, someone broke the stagger on me, but that's because they're getting out really hard. But I find a pretty good rhythm, and I hold it pretty well. And see, right about here, I start making up the stagger on Tegan. And this is where it's just like all grit and all heart. Is the last 100. I mean, that's always how it is. Me and Tegan both had to catch the kid on the outside of us. We were a bit behind. If you look at the stagger, we're pretty behind. And so we both just get after it. As you can see, my form has improved so much, especially from this angle. It's a similar angle to my 8th grade year. And if you look at the difference in my arms, I'm actually moving my arms. And this was a really good finish because I almost catch the guy in first. But that was a really good example of being patient and using strategy in a race to kind of work off the other people instead of just using all my own energy. So biggest takeaway from this race and improvements that I've seen, the arms so much better, being patient in the beginning compared to my first race of my freshman year. I'm not getting out as crazy hard, but I still get out, but I'm finding a rhythm down the backstretch that helps me at least finish the race with more gas in my tank. I forgot to mention it. This is the next video. This is my first sophomore, or I guess it's technically my second sophomore 400, but my first freshman race, I ran 53, that race at Nampa where I almost get hawked down. And then my district race, I ran 50.41. Yeah, 50.41. That is Valley View High School's freshman record. I'll say that. And I was the fastest freshman in the state. So I thought that was pretty cool. Some little bragging rights. Sophomore year, I'd been dealing with some pretty bad hip injuries this season. I had an indoor season. I ran one meet. I strained my hip flexor pretty bad and was out until April pretty much. And I just really focused on cross training, and that is another tip that I want to give you guys. Is cross training is going to be one of your best friends throughout your track journey. And even if you're not injured, cross training is one of the best things that you can do. It helps prevent injury. It helps build strength. Swimming in particular is my favorite means of cross training. It builds lung capacity. It's a full body workout. And honestly, it can be harder than running a lot of the times, depending on what you're doing. So leading up to this, I was scared to run this race or run at this meet because it was my first big meet back, and with how well I did in the 400 my freshman year, I always felt the pressure behind it. I'm the freshman record holder. I was this year I was ranked number 9 or 10 in the state just off of rankings from last year. So I felt a lot of pressure going into this meet because I was well, what if I can't perform? And prelims, I almost matched my PR. I ran 50.43 in prelims. And I was so surprised because I had not done a lot of running. I was doing a lot of cross training because my hip was just in too much pain. So yeah, this is the finals race. I was pretty nervous, like I mentioned before. You can see me in the blocks. This is one thing a lot of people, it kind of depends, just preference. But if you compare just from looking, I guess, compare me to like this guy here. He's looking straight down and my head's relaxed completely. It's honestly a preference thing. I find that relaxing my head completely helps me to come out of the blocks more relaxed and helps me keep my head down, because my drive phase is honestly like non-existent, and it helps me like build the cue in my head that I need to be driving. The lag is pretty horrible. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, see, I find a really good rhythm, and I start breaking stagger pretty early. Like, I get out hard, and I find a good rhythm. I'm not catching guys super crazy fast, but I do catch everyone. And this was the one switch that I had in my head this season, was that I needed to kick at 200. That was my like biggest thing, was kicking at 200 and starting my kick early, because if I could get the lead, see, my form was honestly really good. I feel like I'm a very confident front runner. If I'm in the front, I don't usually get caught. I feel like catching guys is a lot harder than just outrunning them, and starting my kick at 200 was the biggest contributing factor to that. And my form is honestly really good. My arm doesn't really stay at 90, and that was one thing I kind of struggled with, was getting my arms at 90 when I finishing a race. I finished the race really well with a lot of speed, and I came in really relaxed, and I think this race was 49.9, 49.8, and that put me at the fastest time in the state. So I was really, really proud of that. All right, this was state. This was state my sophomore year. At districts leading up to it, I had broken the district record. I ran 49.3. Obviously, like, that was a lifetime best, like, easily. I ran like 50.3 in district prelims, and then 49.3 in finals. And then state, I was honestly kind of scared, because I had tweaked my quad the day before, or like the day before state. We were doing block starts, and I kind of like stretched it a little too far out of block starts, and I was honestly like kind of nervous, but it went away pretty quick. I think I was just nervous, and obviously, like, as one of the younger guys in the field, I was just kind of scared, especially because the guy number 5, he got second at state my freshman year, or the year before. So I knew I was running against these guys that were really strong runners. And the day before finals, I ran a PR. I ran 49.3 again in prelims. And these guys, I could tell, like, they were hitting their peak, and I was kind of a little off it still. And so I was kind of scared, but I knew if I could just stay relaxed and just follow my strategy that I had set for myself, then I could be fine. One thing you guys might notice there, I'm the last one with my head down in the blocks. I'm going to get out of full screen because it seems to be laggy when I'm full screen. But you can see how I'm the last person to get in the blocks, and that's always a good like mental factor into it. You never want to be the first guy with your head down in the blocks, because you're waiting there. You're just waiting and waiting. And if you're someone like me, I take a while to get into my blocks compared to some people. And even when I am down, I do like a little shake with my arms, so it slows the race down, and I'm able to like start the race at my pace instead of starting it at someone else's.
Set.
So my drive is a lot better than it was my freshman year, and my form is significantly better as well. I find a good rhythm, and I'm staying pretty even with the guys on my side while moving up. Me and the guy in front of me are both moving up pretty well. But the guy in lane 8, he got out so hard, so I was like, crap, I really need to like catch him. And I remember telling my friend Jackson, my buddy Jackson, I told him to stay at the 200 mark. You can actually see him there. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but him and my friend Reagan are at the 200 mark. And I told him, when I get there, all I want you to yell at me is to kick, because that was like the 200 is my sweet spot for kicking, I feel like, when I'm really in shape. So my form was looking pretty well in that back stretch. And yeah, this is where you can really see where I start moving up. And you can see how far ahead the guy in lane 8 is. But if you look at my form and watch my face, I know it's really blurry on my screen, but if you watch my face, you can see how relaxed it is. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give people, is just stay relaxed. If it isn't so freaking laggy, holy. Yeah, see how relaxed I am. And I was 0.05 off my school record. I ran 48.95. So that was a big career high for sure. Winning state my sophomore year. All right, this was my junior year. This is not my first race of junior year. This is just my PR from indoor, which was just a big overall PR. I had gotten in really good shape. I had ran 49 at my first indoor race, which I was pretty happy with, considering I just had gone home from a trip from the Philippines with my mom. So I hadn't done much training, but I knew where I was at, and I knew that I was on pace for a really good time. This was at the Simplot Games in Pocatello. It's one of the biggest meets on this side of the country. People from California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, all over come, even some schools foreign. I got a shirt, I traded jerseys with a guy from Australia, so that was pretty awesome. But I'm right here in the middle of the frame, slowly. Leading into this race, I was actually pretty sick. I had gotten a really bad cold, so I was really nervous coming into finals. My prelims race was really good. It was smooth. I'd come into the race seated second or third, I think. And I knew I just needed to get out fast the first 200, because that was the first, that was what I struggled with throughout the season and even previously, was getting out harder in the first 200. And yeah. You can kind of see right here as I'm loading into my blocks, my foot slips. And that threw me off so bad, but it kind of helped me to just get my head, get out of my head about it and just run the race. And even here, how I mentioned getting into the blocks last, the guy behind me gets in the block last. So I'm here sitting for a lot longer than I typically would be. You can see there, that was one thing I changed about my block starts, is how slow I lift my butt up. Pause. But I lift my butt up a lot slower than I usually would. Usually I would kind of launch it up. But by raising it slower, you're I don't even know how to explain it. Instead of just using it all up and then going, it's your hips are going to be more powerful out of the blocks. Man, I don't understand why it's so laggy. Now, as you can see, I get out really hard. A lot harder than I was used to, and I was I'm really smooth, and you can kind of see here I shift, my arm relax a lot more, and that was what I really focused on, was getting out and then finishing hard. And as you can see, there is a big gap forming between me and the rest of the guys, and I just wanted to get to the end. This was everything. This was my peak, easily my peak form of the season. And that race was 48:15. I'd almost cut a whole second off my PR, and this was indoor on a wooden track. I was really proud of that race, and I feel like there wasn't that much that I could really critique about it. This was my PR like most of my junior season. And for those of you that know me, they know my junior year, I broke my leg. I'd been struggling through a stress fracture. We didn't realize it was a stress fracture. And then I ended up running a 4x4 at districts, and I ended up breaking my leg. The next video I'll show is my PR race from my junior year. But that race was honestly really good and executed really well, especially for indoor. A good indoor tip is to be patient when you're cutting in. Because you can see me here, I don't immediately launch to lane 1. I get into lane 1 as I am crossing the start, and then I relax and just get to the finish. Alright, this was the last race of my junior year before I broke my leg. It was literally the next race after this I break my leg, and if you guys want me to, I can go deeper into that and do another video. But this was district finals. I had been struggling with that stress fracture, so I had not done much training up until this. I took about 2 weeks off and was only like running off cross training.
Set.
There it is again, how I kind of raised the butt up slowly.
Let's go, David!
I don't understand. I'm sorry, guys. My start was honestly pretty good. The start is always the hardest part for me. I feel like my start has never been fantastic. Like, I have good reaction, but my start is never the greatest. But I do get out pretty hard. I make up the stagger on the people in front of me relatively quick. I find a good rhythm. I'm staying relaxed. The guy behind me, X, he's committed to Boise State right now. He makes up the stagger on me, and we'd both been running the entire season. He hadn't beaten me yet, but we were really close in prelims. But this is my sweet spot, like I said, 200, and I stay relaxed and I use my arms. Using your arms is the biggest thing you can do, especially when you're out of shape, using your arms, they'll carry you to the finish. And this race, new district record, is the fastest time in the state. I ran 48:13. So honestly, like my indoors race was like a fantastic execution, because it's almost like matching my PR. I ran 48:15. It was 15th in the nation at the time, and it remained my PR until this race. All right, this was my last race of my high school season, or my high school career. It was a little over a full year since my leg had broke. And then I had even been struggling with some more injury problems this season, which forced me to take about a month off of practice. So this was the race that I decided to just like leave it on the track, and it's honestly kind of like a bittersweet race, considering it's my final race. I would not say it was my magnum opus. It was not my best race. But it was the best effort that I could have given at that time, especially dealing with injuries, and coming off that broken leg. Coming into this race, I was seated 6th. I'm in lane 7. I was never used to being seated that far out, I guess. I was like in contention to like lose the race. So I figured there's nothing to lose. It's my last race of the season. I just wanted to be proud of the race, even if I didn't win. And the weather conditions were pretty bad. My start wasn't too bad. I don't make up the stagger insanely quick, but I'm able to get there. I was able to find a pretty good. This is where I kind of thought I was screwed, because I thought my teammate Jacoby, he's a dog. He's honestly like my equal pretty much. His freshman year, he ran .01, slower than my freshman record. And then his sophomore year, he ran .03 faster than my PR that year. And then in the finals, he runs 48.95. And it's funny because that's exactly what I ran state my sophomore year when I won. But biggest tip that I cannot reiterate the most is never tie up. Always be patient and never just keep fighting to the end. Because at this point, I'm probably in like 5th place. And I'm able to hold my form even if my face isn't the most relaxed. I'm able to hold my form and get to the end and finish strong. And that gets me second. That got me second at state. Around 48.8. I honestly, I wasn't the most happy with my time and my placement, but I made the best out of it that I possibly could. And I guess that's the biggest tip that I could give you is just no matter what conditions you have. I mean, the weather was horrible. I'd been dealing with injuries. Everything was kind of stacked against me at the time. And the last and the biggest piece of advice is never give up. Just keep fighting for it. This goes for practices. This goes for races. This goes for anything really. Is just you keep fighting. If you keep fighting and you give it your best effort, you're never a loser. You're never going to lose anything if you give it everything that you have. And yeah, so that was all of my PRs and high school races pretty much. Yeah.
All right, that was those were my high school races. Those were the most notable high school races for my 400s at least. I hope you guys were able to get some advice and have any takeaways that were important that could help you out throughout your high school track journey. So if you guys are interested in hearing about any of my other races or seeing my other races, let me know. Comment down below what you want to see, what you want to hear about next. Yeah, and I hope you guys follow along the rest of my track journey and my life, really. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and comment down below what your favorite part was, what your favorite race was, favorite takeaway, favorite piece of advice, and what you want me to do next. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye.